7 months. That's how long it took from my first sale to quitting my job and booking a one-way ticket out of the country, making $10,000 a month from a laptop. But that wasn't my first try, not even close. And it wasn't any of the business models that you're probably thinking of. I just finished university. I was making minimum wage, answering phones in a call center in Wellington, New Zealand. And the only thought that I had every single day was, is this it? Is this going to be the next 40 years? So I Googled how to make money online, as you do, and just started trying things. I didn't really want to be rich. I didn't care about cars or watches or any of that stuff. I just wanted $1,000 a week because I did the math and that was enough to quit the job and just travel, go on a beach somewhere. And that was the entire goal. I want to go through every single model I tried, what I actually did, what actually happened, and what finally worked. Because every video that I watched when I was starting out just talked about one model in particular in isolation. And nobody put them all next to each other and gave a really honest comparison between them. So that's what I'm doing. 6 things: profit margin, startup cost, how long it takes to get going, complexity once it's running, demand, and scalability. These matter differently depending on your situation. So if you've got a job, startup costs don't bother you as much, but time does. If you've got no job, you've got plenty of time, but no budget, right? So you have to know which of these actually matters for you where you are right now. And most people don't even think about that. They just pick a model because it sounds exciting or because someone on YouTube made it look really easy. Let me walk you through every model that I tried and how it actually went. Affiliate marketing was my first attempt. You sell someone else's product and get a commission. And everyone starts here because it's free to start. So I found ClickBank, JVZoo, picked some random products and just started hustling, posting in Facebook groups, DMing strangers, basically any free marketing method that I could find. I was doing this for hours every single day and pulling in maybe a few $100s a month. And I lasted about 3 months before I realized that the math was never going to work because your average commission is like 5 to 10%. So you sell something for $100 and you get 5. Then you've still got whatever you spent on marketing and all of that time. And if you don't have an audience or an email list or money for ads, you're just grinding for pennies. Startup cost is 0, which feels great, until you realize startup time is insane. If you go the niche site route, you're looking at about a year to make $1,000. And most of the sales are one-off, so nothing compounds. There's no customer relationship, no recurring revenue, nothing building on itself. It's the most popular starting point, and that's exactly why it's the hardest one to make work. Everyone's doing it, everyone's selling the same generic stuff, putting no thought into it, and there's no way to stand out. There's no moat, nothing defensible. So just you competing with a million other people selling the exact same product. That wasn't going to get me out of that call center, but the next one almost did. And that's what really does make it dangerous. Dropshipping, I was actually kind of excited about. You find a product, throw it on Shopify and run some Facebook ads. And when someone buys, the supplier ships it directly. So you never touch the product, and it seemed perfect. And it was fun at first, but then Facebook launched the ads library and suddenly every winning product that you found got copied within days. The margins just evaporated, and then I met this guy through a mutual connection. He was making a few $100,000 a month selling mannequins through Google ads and SEO as well. But he told me the real play in dropshipping is higher ticket stuff. So like coffee machines to cafes or barber chairs to barbers. So I pivoted a bit. I built a new store. I ran ads and the margins were genuinely good, way better than the fidget spinners I started with. But I hit the same wall that I kept hitting. I didn't have enough money to spend on ads to get to the point where I was actually clearing $1,000 a week in profit. And that's really the main thing that kills most beginners with this model. So you need an ad budget to make it work. And if you don't have it, you're stuck. But the thing nobody warns you about is payment processes. They despise dropshippers. So you get chargebacks, angry customers, refunds, and you're constantly managing that. So it's more stressful than it looks from the outside, and it can work. But you need to go branded for it to really have legs, and then you need to control manufacturing eventually. You can't always do drop shipping. So I just didn't have the resources for that at the time. Next one stopped me before it even got going, and it's the one most people waste the most money on, Amazon FBA. So you send your products to Amazon's warehouses, they handle storage and shipping, and you collect sales. I was going to sell journals with writing prompts. I've always been really into journaling, like writing out ideas, writing about what I'm doing and what I'm planning. And I was genuinely excited about this one. I got about as far as sourcing manufacturers and figuring out the specs for the product that I was designing, but the numbers really stopped me because you needed thousands upfront to get inventory manufactured and shipped before you sell a single unit. And I was still making minimum wage. Margins land around 10% after you pay for the product, shipping, and Amazon's cut. So startup costs sit somewhere around $3,000 to $4,000 on average, which is cheap for a real business, but a lot when you're broke, making minimum wage, working in a call center. It takes about 3 months to launch your first product, not to start selling, to launch. The other problem is you don't own your customers. Amazon does. So when competitors show up selling the same thing, copying your product, even if you went and put a lot of time into designing it, making it different, your margins shrink, and there's really not much you can do about it. If you pull up Google Trends for all of these business models, it's pretty clear everyone is doing them. The competition is enormous across the board, and every single one of them has the same problem in some form. Either there's no moat and you're competing on price with everyone, it's a commodity, or the moat costs thousands to build. But there's one I haven't shown you yet, and when I lay out the numbers next to everything else you just saw, you'll see why I never went back to any of those other models. So the business that actually got me out of that call center is called drop servicing. And some people call it service arbitrage, okay? You find skilled freelancers from around the world, you sell their services to businesses that actually need them, and you keep the difference. So you're essentially running an agency without doing any of the actual delivery work yourself. And profit margins are in the 50 to 70% range, and sometimes even as high as 90%. So the timeline always looks brutal in the middle and obvious in hindsight. You just have to find something you'll stick with and trust that you'll figure it out, because you probably will. Startup costs are basically the same as affiliate marketing, 0 to almost nothing. You're not buying inventory, you're not paying for ads or products up front. You just find a freelancer who does great work, you partner with them, get their example work, and you start reaching out to businesses that need that work. I've seen people who are brand new to landing their first sale within days or weeks of starting. And there's no 3-month ramp up, waiting for products to ship to a warehouse. So demand is enormous because you're selling digital services, and every company on the planet is buying more and more of those every single year in some form or another. And the scalability is what really sets it apart. So about 30% of my clients come back for more work in a business where I don't actually sell a recurring service. The ones where I do sell a recurring service, they all come back essentially. So that's recurring revenue. That's actual relationships. I never had that with any other business model, but I want to explain why this actually works at a deeper level, because it's not just about the margins. This is the important part. Remember how affiliate marketing had no moat and Amazon FBA needed thousands of dollars to build one, and every other business model I tried had that same problem. Either you're selling commodities and everyone competes on price until nobody's making money, or there is a moat, but it costs tens of thousands of dollars to build. Drop servicing gives you a moat without the investment because your freelancers already have portfolios, past work. They already have case studies from past clients. So you essentially just partner with a freelancer who does lead generation for SEO companies, and they've got great results. For example, you take that proof and you go sell the same service to more SEO companies. Every client that you land creates more proof, and every relationship that you build makes the next sale easier because you get more proof from more clients and more proof from more freelancers as you partner with more. And that snowball effect just doesn't exist with the other models. A guy I know, Steve, a friend of mine, he went through the same thing. He was doing recruiting in London as a job, and he made about £300 in his entire first year in business. And today he's generated millions of dollars and does whatever he wants with his time. And here's the part of the story that I usually skip over. I'd spent the better part of a year trying all of this, and I hadn't really made a single dollar of profit. I was still sitting in that cubicle, still making minimum wage with a few done websites and half-baked plans to show for it. I never told my friends or family what I was doing during that whole period. Not because I was embarrassed by it or something like that. I just didn't really care what they thought. Only opinions that I cared about were from people who had what I wanted, because they probably knew more about getting there than people who'd never done it before, right? Who'd spent their whole lives in a 9-to-5 happily or whatever. That's fine, but that wasn't my goal. So I didn't really need their input. And once I found drop servicing, it took me 3 months to get my first sale, okay, from beginning to close. It was $850, and 7 months after that, I'd quit my job. I was making $10,000 a month and booked a one-way ticket out of Wellington to Thailand. Do I even remember what it felt like sitting in that call center? Honestly, barely at all, not really. Does any of the time I spent failing matter anymore? Not even a little bit, right? So here's where everything sits. Affiliate marketing is at the bottom. It's the easiest to start and hardest to make work. It's too generic, too crowded, and no way to differentiate. Amazon FBA is above that. It can be solid with branded products, but the upfront cost is real and you're building on someone else's platform. Dropshipping or e-commerce is better. There's no platform dependency, no inventory, and if you can build a real brand, the ceiling is high, but you need capital and stomach for the ad spend grind. So drop servicing is at the top. Just as cheap to start as the bottom two, but you actually build something defensible. You control your niche, you control the client relationship, and every sale makes the next one easier. My drop servicing businesses still do $100,000 a month, and especially with the AI boom right now, this model is better positioned than anything else out there when it comes to online business that I've tried or seen. Better than the old guard models, better than the new trendy stuff like clipping or selling digital products with ChatGPT, because AI drop servicing gives you something to sell, someone to sell it to, and the proof from the freelancers that connects the two. And the coolest part is, it's the AI business model that most people really ignore. Everyone's focused on learning AI, but the real money is in selling it. And I explain the whole model in this video here, so go check it out.